Alright, welcome back to Mr. P Helps with Algebra. This is Unit 2, Topic 2, Lesson number 8. Alright, so we're talking about different rates and changes and comparing them, figuring out which one is the greatest. The amount of stretch in a bungee cords, when you stretch them, they don't stretch too much, or a slinky, those little metal things that you slink over and over again, those you can stretch out a lot. If you put a 3-pound weight on it, it's going to move a lot. So that's the one that has the greater change, the stretching slinky. A sunflower grows 2 inches per day, or this type of flower, I don't know that one, that grows 18 inches in 1 week. Well, 2 inches per day times 7 days would be 14 inches per week, which means this one's the one that's growing more. Pumping 25 gallons of gas into a truck in 3 minutes, or filling a bathtub with 40 gallons of water every 5 minutes. Well, what I'm going to try to do here is find the unit rate. 25 divided by 3 is slightly more than 8. I believe that's 8 1/3 per minute. And this one is 40 gallons in 5 minutes, which would be exactly 8 gallons per minute, which means the pumping gas is slightly more by 1/3 of a gallon. Riding a bike 10 miles in 1 hour, so I'm going to convert that to minutes. 1 hour is 60 minutes divided by 10 miles, which would be 6 minutes per mile. 3 miles in 24 minutes, 24 divided by 3 miles, which would be 8 minutes per mile, which means the riding a bike is faster because the less time it takes to go a mile, the faster you must be going. So in this case, less actually means faster. Alright, so this lesson is to identify and classify linear and exponential functions based upon patterns of growth. So we're given either a model, which is an equation that represents a function, or you're given the table that represents a function. You're supposed to determine what type of change is it and what kind of function would that be. Alright, so looking closely at this table, notice that the x increments are increasing at a steady rate. That is important that you always look at the x because the x's don't always go in order. So these are increasing by 5 each time, and these are increasing by 10. Yes, that is an increase of 10 there as well. That is an arithmetic pattern. If it's an arithmetic pattern, that means it has equal differences over equal intervals. These are equal intervals, and these are equal differences. So that is an arithmetic pattern. How I found that change? Well, I just simply looked at the pattern of each. This happened to be increasing by 10, and these were increasing by 5. And I could go all the way down, plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, plus 5, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10. Those are equal differences over equal intervals. Intervals are your x's. Alright, so this question, this is a recursive formula. And I know usually we've done recursive formulas with n minus 1 previous term. This would be n plus 1. Plus 1 just means the next term. So to find the next term, if the zeroth term is -3, that means that's your starting point. The next term is found by taking 5/3 of the term you're looking for. So if I'm looking for the first term, I simply multiply that by 5/3, and that would give me the next term. So once again, if you know how to read a recursive formula, if you know what this n minus 1 and n plus 1, and you know understand what that means, these are actually pretty easy. Now, yes, there's a fraction involved. If I multiply -3 times 5/3, which is the same as multiplying by 5 and dividing by 3, this times this would be -15, divided by 3, which would be -5. -5 is the next term. I could continue that pattern, do -5 times 5 is -25, divided by 3, yeah, that's going to give me a decimal, that's going to give me like -8 point something. -8 1/3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have a calculator on me, so don't quote me if I'm wrong. But yeah, you can see that this is the sequence of numbers. So now, that's the 0th number, the first number, the second number. So yes, we have an equal intervals, but do we have equal differences? It looks like this is decreasing by 2 and then decreasing by 3 1/3. So nope, it looks like we do not. It looks like in this case, we are not doing equal differences, but in this case we're multiplying by 5/3. So that would be equal factors over equal intervals. Factors means multiplication. Alright, so that is equal factors over equal intervals, and the reason why is because I noticed that you're multiplying a term by 5/3. Alright, moving on to the next question. So this one is about perimeter. So this has a perimeter of 4. Perimeter is distance around the shape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This has a perimeter of 10. I need at least one more before I can find the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. For some reason, this shape reminds me of Cubert. Yeah, YouTube that. That is an old classic game that I played as a kid. Cubert. That's what it looks like to me. So this looks like plus 6, and I bet you this one would also be plus 6. So that one looks like it's equal differences over equal intervals. So equal intervals, 1, 2, 3, 4. Equal differences, meaning it's changing at a constant rate of arithmetic sequence. Area. This is 1 block. This is 4 blocks. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. And that's plus 3 and then plus 5. And I bet you the next one's going to be plus 7. So this should be 16 blocks. I'm not going to count them, but you can check me and make sure I'm right. So this is neither. And I know we've talked about this in the past. This is a quadratic pattern because it has a second difference. The amount that's being added is increasing by 2 each time. Number 5, this is a arithmetic sequence because it's in y equals mx plus b format. Now it just so happens that this rate is changing by m, which is a in this case, times x minus 3 is the starting point. So negative 3 is the starting point, and then you add an a to it to get the next one. So the next term would be negative 3 plus a. And then negative 3 plus 2a, then negative 3 plus 3a. So how I found the pattern change, well, I noticed that this is in the slope-intercept form. And the type of pattern, this is an arithmetic sequence. This is equal differences of a over equal intervals. All right, this question, we've got equal intervals. These intervals are increasing by 5, but these numbers are not changing. This is a crazy question, because this type of change actually could be equal intervals. I'm sorry, it's definitely equal intervals. It could be equal differences, or it could be equal factors. So if I break that down, how is this equal differences? Well, how is this number changing? It's increasing by nothing. Plus nothing, plus nothing, plus nothing, plus nothing, plus nothing. So you could say that this is equal differences. Or you could say this is equal factors. Say it's times 1, times 1, times 1. So technically there's 2 different answers here. So it depends how you see the problem. Is this times 1 or plus 0? Because they would both work. 7. The height of a ground of a person on a Ferris wheel that is rotating at a constant speed. So I'm not a big fan of this question because it's not really keeping constant whatsoever. That's my picture of a Ferris wheel, by the way. So you're going around the Ferris wheel like this at a constant speed. Your height is increasing, and then it starts decreasing, increasing, decreasing. And your height is actually changing. Well, even though your speed is staying the same, your height is changing at different rates. So it's decreasing a little bit slower, and then it starts decreasing a lot right here, and then it decreases slower until it's not decreasing at all, and then it starts increasing again. So what type of pattern change is that? It's neither. It's definitely neither, because it's both increasing and decreasing. I don't really have a name for that. It is over equal intervals, but it's just there's no equal differences, no equal factors or anything. Question number 8. If you put this equation into your calculator and graph it, you would get a straight line that looks like this. That is a linear equation, which means that is equal differences over equal intervals. This one is tricky. This one is tricky because look at the intervals. The intervals are out of order. That's why you've always got to look at the x column. So it goes from 0 to 4, then it skips. Here's 8, and negative 4 actually should have been up here. Negative 8 should have been up here. This is equal differences over equal intervals because the pattern is plus 3 for every 4 that the intervals are increasing. So this is plus 3, that's obvious, but after 4 comes 8 if you're going by 4s, plus 3 would be 1. So that is equal differences over equal intervals. That is an arithmetic sequence. That is a linear equation. Algae pond is decreasing by 3%. So if anything is increasing or decreasing by a percentage is always going to be a geometric sequence. So that one is equal factors. And last but not least, we got a neither here because there really is no pattern. If you look up here, what would you multiply negative 4 by to get negative 2? That'd be a half. But then times a half doesn't work again. So that's not equal factors. And it's definitely not equal differences. All right, homework. Determine the rate of change in each of the tables below. So once again, notice that the x's are not at a constant rate. It's going negative 3 to 1, so that's plus 2. And this side over here looks like it is plus 8. So it's change of y over change of x, which means it's increasing at 4. Now I can do that with any other numbers, and it should be exactly the same. This is because it says it's linear rate. So this is an increase of 12. And this side over here is an increase of 3. 12 divided by 3 is also 4. It gives you the exact same answer. All right, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. That's the formula for slope that you could use. So this minus this over this minus this. All right, so negative 4 minus 4 makes negative 8. And negative 4 minus 0 makes negative 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. 2 is the rate of change. I mean, look at this. This is increasing by 8. 8 divided by 4 is also 2. So it really doesn't matter which points you pick. You can pick any points because it is a linear change, which means it should be staying equal. All right, so even though these intervals are not going at an equal interval, you can still find using any 2 points. So I'm going to use these 2 points. 0 minus 10 is negative 10. 25 minus 50 is negative 25. So change of y over change of x. And I could simplify that. I can divide both by negative 5, and that would give me 2 over 5. 2 over 5 would be the answer. All right, thanks again for watching. Please give me a like if I helped you out, figure out something or learn something, and definitely follow if you haven't done so already. All right, thanks for watching.